Hi, you've picked up the egg for Seminar 7. I'm Mad John. You can call me or text me at 757-201-4934 if you have any questions. This will be a pretty basic, maybe a little bit convoluted explanation of Seminar 7, team building seminar, and Seminar 7 is called Flies, Honeys, and it's about flies and honeys, and also scientists, and studying the way that desire and behavior is presented. So basically, this is a two-part activity. In one section, there's an area with a series of fly costumes, which could be made of various materials. I've made them out of crocheted plarn and ironed them and painted them to look like really good domes that look very similar to fly eyes, and wings cut of trace paper and string to attach them. Black coffee stirrers to imitate the siphon apparatus at the front of their face. But these costumes can be a lot of different things. I've also hosted it with red paper circles for the eyes and newspapers for the wings, and people just hold them on. You don't even need the string. So just bring some items that are just sort of the suggestion of a housefly's body. Also, go on the internet, find some sources that reference flies. Find either a breakdown of the way that flies are perceived in media, or just a piece of media that contains a fly. And choose that, put the link to it in Canva, and then create a QR code. You can print that out if you want to. Or you can you can print something, or you can write a poem, or just find something that defines flies in one way or another, whether that's visually by just feature in film, or by written description. So you'll do that, prepare all of those materials on one side, preferably laid out on a blanket or something. And then on the other side, this activity takes place with two setups on opposite sides of a structure. I've done it with a tree and a wall so far, and both worked relatively well. So for the second side, this is going to be where the scientists go. And there, I usually use a picnic basket just because I have a picnic basket, but that's not necessary. But you'll store in some capacity, whether it's just setting them out, the materials in a bag type item, or just in one spot, make it look sort of nice, like a laboratory, if you will. And these materials will be whatever condiments are in your fridge, of varying textures. Pick a couple powders. You can do sugar, flour, all edible material. These are edible materials. Cooked rice, things that are generally soft and could be reasonably maneuvered through the width of a coffee stirrer, because they'll be using those, or straws, as the new mouths of the flies. So you'll assemble these materials, put them in an area, stuff of all textures, and you're also going to want a stack of plastic cups. And these can be washed out to-go cups, they're takeout cups. These can be Dixie cups, these can be, a plastic cup. But one thing about this is you're going to want to mark a line on each cup where, just at the same height. And so you'll do that, and participants on this side, the scientist side, will use stirring implements as well. So you'll need those. I prefer a spoon. A straw is good for testing, and you'll also want a Sharpie on that side. So to conduct this activity, you'll need two proctors, and there's going to be a fly proctor and a scientist proctor. Because this is an activity that sort of functions with two groups of people in tandem, operating separately from each other, you're going to want to assemble a fairly large working group. I'd recommend at least 8 people, so you can have 4 people on each side, and one of those being your proctor. So for this to happen, the fly proctor will begin in a version of the fly costume suggested by the materials provided. So if you have cardboard circles, be wearing the cardboard circles when people show up on the fly side. On the scientist side, just dress like a nerd is the idea. It doesn't need to be a particular costume, just wear what you think a nerd looks like. So after this, each side will populate with participants. If you want, you can even have a third person who's processing them, sort of wherever you're meeting, entering the space that you've set up. And you can say, are you a fly or a scientist, and allow them to self-sort that way. If you're looking for a particularly even number of people, you can siphon them off yourself. They'll see each other, but it's really people working in extended groups together. I recommend people that don't know each other, but you know what? Live your truth. Do what you want. And people love each other and like to spend time with each other, and I understand that too. So these people will populate the space. You'll sort them into flies and scientists, one side or the other. Scientists, again, with this picnic array of condiments, and the flies with these fly costume components and a piece of media featuring a fly. And they'll be on each side, and the fly proctor will say, in some capacity, I usually do it rhyming, but essentially the storyline for this fly is, I was participating in this experiment last year. We are evolved to look humanoid and no longer resemble the houseflies portrayed in media, so we wear the costumes in order to fool the scientists into thinking that they're still doing research with the same people, and make them delighted by the success of their experimentation. So they're sort of skewing with science to give scientists a good result and make them feel happy is the idea. So you're playing, or the proctor is playing the last fly surviving from the experiment in the previous year, because he's about to die because they don't live very long. So he's passing on the knowledge to the next generation. And he says, basically, you're going to suck the stuff out of the cups that they have with a straw. You're gonna dress up like a fly, and you're going to put a coffee stirrer or a straw in your mouth, and you're going to buzz around in the movement that you see indicated by this piece of media. You're going to behave like the fly that they told you to behave like, and slurp on the, the liquids that these scientists are presenting to you. And this will, you'll move from the fly side to the scientist side, which is the only cross motion there will be. The scientists will stay over there. So you'll prepare your costumes. If you want to get complicated, I've had it so that people, like, by memory draw the veins on the wings of the flies, which can be interesting. But yeah, do that if you want to. Make it relatively complex or simple, whatever you want. So on the scientist side, your scientist proctor can introduce the activity as saying, "Hi, thank you for coming to lab, where we've all agreed to be. We'll be conducting this this experiment that we've been working on, a trial of what we've been working on for several years. And in this trial, we try to guess the substance that flies will drink at like a generally contented but not too rush and obsessed rate. So they're trying to guess the cup of fluid that will be consumed second of the trials that they're performing. The idea is that they're preparing like one that the flies will be really, really obsessed with and they'll drink quickly and be done with first. And then there's two, which is the one they just sort of like. And they're trying to guess that one because the flies have sensitive stomachs. But when they're obsessed, they'll overeat and it bursts them and it kills them. And the scientists are trying to make all food slightly more moderate to save the lives of the obsessed flies. So they're doing that, and to conduct that process, participants should mix various degrees of textured globs from the condiment selection. They'll do so in the cups provided, and try to fill every cup to the line that you marked on every cup. And from there, they'll label each cup with the number in the order that they think that the flies will consume it. These will be the hypotheses. And if you want to have multiple guesses for multiple people, you can use either different colored markers or ask people to sign what number they sort of write on the side of each cup. But I prefer to have it so that people try to pick an order in a team and have sort of stakes in that success together. So they'll mix these things. It'll be good. The proctors will slip away around to meet each other in the middle distance between their activities. And they'll do this when each side is prepared and finished with the mixing and the numbering, as well as the preparing fly costumes and absorbing media. So they'll meet and then return to their respective groups. The fly group will signal a launch towards the cups. Fly participants will walk around or fly as they see fit in accordance with the media that they consumed portraying the fly, and they'll attempt to suck down all the condiments, all the cups of mysterious liquids, and they'll do that as quickly as possible to please the scientists in accordance with their tradition. And their goal is to empty the cup. The scientists will hold the cups out, hold them in the air, try to feed them to the flies, or also try to influence the speed at which they they drink them. So whether that's presenting certain liquids or pulling them away at certain times and making the flies follow after it. And that's the activity. That's the whole thing. In the original poem that I wrote about it, it was sort of an absurd poem. And the reward for guessing correctly the second cup, or the reward for participation, was to eat a slice of cucumber. Everyone was offered a slice of cucumber, and then the flies would sort of fly away and return to their human form, just to make sure that you don't break the scientist's heart. But they would all eat a piece of cucumber together. And then after that, there would be a prize if the scientist correctly correctly labeled with a 2 the cup emptied the second quickest. They would receive $1 to split between them. So that's the activity. Only listen to this once. I only recorded this once. So from my mind to yours, you got this. Have fun.